Hello, we finally figured it out. Apparently, Facebook changed their entire interface on how to actually go live, and you can't add anybody in. So now we're back on our streaming software, and we figured out the audio. So apologies for that. Ben, I am so excited to talk to you, not just because of the crazy revenue that you've done, but to tell the story of how it came to be, of the epiphany that you came to that led to this, and what you're able to do now with your community. So first off, just to get everybody kind of salivating a little bit, let's talk about revenue, and then we'll go backwards. You cool to do that?
Yep.
So talk to me about the Athletic Muscle Blueprint. What have you been doing there?
Oh, it's the best. Genuinely is the best thing. Basically, it was my... Is there a car going off somewhere?
Oh, we've got some people, of course, doing a tour in our office at this time. Right. I asked him to move outside of the front of our office, but we can still hear him down the hall. This is just a multitude of things this morning, but we're still making it work because that's how you do it.
Technology, so the Athletic Muscle Blueprint came from starting the OTA 2. It was that idea.
Well, talk to me about revenue. I want to go backwards to that whole story, but talk to me how much you've done in. You've done 3 launches of it, right?
Yeah, third one just finished. You can see the names behind me here. Hopefully you can't see it too much detail. Third launch, and I think now it will be UK. It'll be about 50,000.
50,000 British pounds.
Pounds, yeah.
So that's like 65,000 American, and that's for a 12-week program, right?
Correct.
So that's not bad for a month and a half. 65K. What did you do the first 2?
So the first 2, it was with 20 people and 21 people, and I think it was like 18,000 because I obviously set a lower price point for the first ones.
Yep.
And the second one was 21,000.
So that's a pretty good progression, right? Yeah. From the start, you just wanted to do this from 18,000 pounds to 21,000 pounds to 50,000 pounds. That's exciting. So I wanted to just get that out of the way, just to let people know kind of what we're dealing with here, and what you're putting together. And so I love the story around this. So you and I have known each other for a number of years. You were an Online Trainer Academy student, and I learned a little bit about you. And I think I messaged you out of the blue one day and was like, we're having a conference in Toronto. I want you to be there. I'm going to fly you to Toronto.
Yep.
And and you're in Ireland, and you came, and my wife actually still wears the my wife still wears the sweater that you brought us, which was very, very nice. I think we lost. You bought us like a little Lammy doll. I think we lost that over the years for Cal. Yeah. But the sweater we still wear. And the reason for that is you're such an inspirational guy. So talk about what you were born with, and kind of what you have to deal with every day, and tell people who don't know you a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so firstly, thank you. I have cystic fibrosis, which is a genetic condition, so you can't catch it. It basically, long story short, it affects the mucus production within the body. So everyone else's mucus that doesn't have CF is like the water in this glass or this jar. Very viscous, moves very well. People with cystic fibrosis, that's more like swapping that with wallpaper paste or PVA glue. So every internal function that revolves mucus, which is everything, is much more difficult. It mainly affects the lungs as well, which is why this current moment in time with COVID, everything, it's even more heightened. But essentially, the life expectancy is 46, I believe, currently.
And that's gone up. I mean, 20 years ago, it was like 25, wasn't it?
Yeah, when I was born in 1990, they said I'd be lucky if I got to 20.
Wow.
So I'm now 30. So
yeah,
I'm doing all right. Yeah.
And so a lot of your mission, and you've become a champion in the cystic fibrosis community. I mean, you are literally, I'm going to embarrass the heck out of you here. You are literally a hero to kids in that community. So you've cut your hair, which is very disappointing for me, but you used to have this long flowing hair, and you would dress up as Thor with a Thor hammer. And kids would, I mean, you would chat with kids and who have cystic fibrosis and give them hope, right?
Yeah, it was such an amazing time in my life. I grew my hair simply because I didn't like having short hair. That's all. There was no like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It just happened, and then the people started saying, "Oh, you look a lot like Thor." I was like, "That's kind of cool." And
Hmm.
then the nerdy side of it is actually it came from me looking up the etymology of the words of the week. I've just got a very inquisitive mind. I found out Thursday actually derives from Thursday, and I was like, "That's cool. I'll post that." And then it came from it like so naturally, which is the best thing about it. But the coolest thing is that these kids now think that Thor has cystic fibrosis like them, which to me, if I felt like a superhero or one of the characters I looked at whenever I was growing up had what I had, I would have felt so much better. Even speaking with a client, actually, she said that you're famous in our household. Like I'm kind of freaking out. I'm speaking to you on the phone. This is a client, a prospective client. She's like, my daughter is like hanging off my leg, trying to hear your voice on the phone.
Uh,
And I was like, whew, there's yeah,
there's pressure in that, isn't it? But I mean, you've lived
huge.
up to it so well, and that's why I say you're such an inspirational guy, because you go so far out of your way to support the cystic community, and that's a big part of what I want to talk about here. One of the, I mean, a lot of there are a lot of groups that a lot of trainers want to really work with that perhaps don't have enough money to afford really high quality fitness instruction. And I mean, chronic disease is one of them, right? Like, it's unbelievably expensive, unfortunately, and almost anywhere around the world. It's such a drain on a family's finances,
Yeah.
um, that just, of course, adds to the stress of everything that's going on. And so you really wanted to support the cystic community. And when we spoke, considering OTA2, we had a very interesting conversation. Do you remember it?
I believe so, yeah. It was about the fact that people didn't think that I worked with anyone else other than People CF, or was there a different?
Well, it wasn't quite that. It was the misconception that you need to make the majority of your money from the people that you really ultimately want to serve.
Yes.
You were in the midst of building what's now launched a membership community
Mm-hmm.
for people with cystic fibrosis, to help them with their fitness and to help them overcome. And of course, you can't, like, it's not something that you ultimately are going to make a ton of money on. And so it's very, very difficult to grow a community like that, that's really, really high value, that's producing a lot of content, to be able to bring on and pay other people to help you run it and contribute it to it and be a part of it, and the software and everything involved,
Yeah.
and finance it with that platform. Maybe at one point in the future, but particularly get it going, it's incredibly difficult. I mean, Personal Trainer Development Center is kind of like that too. I couldn't fund the Personal Trainer Development Center website with revenue derived specifically from the Personal Trainer Development Center.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not possible. That website alone costs, it's hard because our expenses are all kind of washed together, but I would say give or take $1.5 to $2 million a year to run. And that to me is like, I really want to support fitness professionals with a tremendous amount of free information to help them get to the next stage of their career. But I can't charge money to access that free information, because a lot of them aren't quite at the point yet where they have that. And so I needed to build something that basically allowed me to make enough money so that I could build that out and have both of them. And that's where the products came in and the Online Trainer Academy came in. And that was a lot of our conversation.
Yeah.
Was I always use the analogy that I think I used with you when we were having that conversation. I was like, bro, like, first of all, I'm going to give you a guarantee when you join OTA2. Like, you're going to make it work. We're going to make sure of that. But if you're passionate about dental hygiene in third world countries, and you think the solution is to donate a lot of toothbrushes, you don't need to start a company that sells toothbrushes to people in third world countries in order to give toothbrushes to people in third world countries.
Yeah.
You need to start literally any company that shoots off a ton of profit that allows you to buy a lot of toothbrushes to donate to people in third world countries. And the minute that I say that, kind of makes something I feel like click in a lot of fitness professionals' heads, because they want to help these people, and they feel like the only way to do that is by serving them, but they can't actually build business because people have a ton of disposable income. And it's always this question of like, okay, well, how do I sell to people who can't afford me? And the answer isn't go over their finances. The answer isn't become better at objection handling. The answer is find people who can afford you.
Yep.
And so talk to me about the athletic muscle blueprint now and how you did that.
So look, cystic fibrosis it's part of my life. It's always going to be part of my life, but it's not. Well, first of all, when people, my best friends forget that I have it. And that was taken out of my mind, that my wife forgets I have it. So I was like, look, I was going down the route of, making CF a bigger part of my life than really I wanted to be, to try and serve others. And I was like, this has put me in a strange spot where I feel like I'm doing something that I'm not passionate about. And this one thing I don't want to do is go down something that I'm not passionate about, because ultimately it's going to fail. It's happened to me in the past. I've learned from it. I've been like, right, I need to be passionate about something in order for it to work. So I knew that CF is always going to be part of my life, but it's never stopped me from doing anything physical. It's never stopped me from being an athlete, apart from in my younger years when I was too small to get picked to do anything. But I've made up for that. Yeah, I've made up for that. So that's where the name anyway came from, the athletic, because I've always wanted to be athletic. I've done bodybuilding, but I never really like being called a bodybuilder because of the all the connotations it kind of pulls in, that you're like, oh, you're this big immobile lump of meat. You've got a lot of show muscles, but no go muscles. And I was like, right, well, I want to bring that into it. So the athletic muscle blueprint really came from me trying to bring my training methodology to a program, and my approach to everything when it comes to it. Again, when I'm talking to people on the calls, I frame it. I said, look, this is marketed as a program, but it's really a course. It's a course in the things you need to be spending your time worrying about, and you're getting rid of all the stuff that, because I say to people, like, you've got mental real estate, and a lot of real estate is taken up by crap that you don't need to be worried about.
Yeah.
So it's about crushing all that down and making you focus on the things you actually need to be worrying about. Like when it comes to nutrition, you need to be focused on your calories first and foremost. If you're not getting that right, you should not be worrying about whether you're having brown rice or white rice. Right. Simple stuff like that. It's about zooming it all out and being like.
So talk to me about how much you're charging for it and how you're selling it.
So at the moment, this most recent iteration, it's $995 for the 12 weeks, which is pounds, obviously.
Yep.
I think that works out like Canadians, like 1,600, I think, from when I was doing
it. It's like $50,000. I mean, ridiculous. But yeah, no, not quite that much. But yeah, no, Canadian is quite a bit more. We'll go American. It's like 1,300 to 1,500.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the way I market it is, well, that's the thing. My marketing is very simplistic. I put out the fact that I'm opening up applications, swipe up. I do a couple of stories saying, this is a limited time, get on this. I explain to people, what it's about and the kind of methodology behind it. But realistically, most of my selling is done pretty much every other story I put up.
Yeah.
With me showing the fact that, look, there's days I don't want to train, but I get it done anyway. This is the food I'm having. Don't really like it, but I know it's beneficial to me, so I'm going to have it.
And I think that's so valuable for people to hear that. Yes, I mean, one of the things that we've worked on a tremendous amount with you is that conversion mechanism is like, not necessarily the swipe up, but like the application to the phone call and digging in deep with people. But really, I mean, what you just said, I think hits the nail on the head. Most of the work is done before then. Yeah. I mean, it's just your daily, okay, I'm going to put out what I'm feeling. I'm going to be real. I'm going to be motivational. I'm going to be inspirational, but I'm going to be very, very real. I'm going to showcase my story. And that's such a hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to get over. I mean, me too. Like go to my Instagram, man. Like, see how consistent I am. I mean, I'm not saying this as somebody who's like an expert in how to do it. I find it difficult too, but it's so valuable to just, I wouldn't even say every day, because I think starting with the pressure of doing it every day
Yeah.
is really, really difficult. But set a schedule that you know you can realistically hit that is probably 25% less than what you think you can realistically hit.
Yep. I
And then
agree.
hit that and gain the confidence in that and build that like content production muscle. And it doesn't have to be anything other than this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because then when it comes time to actually say, okay, I've got this thing, so you've been talking about it for a while. It's kind of been in the back of their mind. That's so valuable, dude. And so how many people in the Athletic Muscle Blueprint now? So at 995, so that's got to be at 50. So that's what, 50 people, 45, 50 people?
20 in the first group, 20 in the second group, which are the second group's finishing next week. So it's 41. And then this group, I actually limited it. I said 15, and then 2 people came in last moment who I had kind of, if I don't get the sale on the phone, I'm like, they're not in it. I don't take them off the board. And then they came in and were like, am I still good to make this payment? So I got 17 in that one. So what's that, like 58 people?
So isn't that incredible that it is such a small absolute number of people?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Anybody watching here, I want you, or anybody listening here, I want you to think about what Ben just said for a second. Of just how, in an absolute sense, how small the number of people that he's working with, simply because he has this program, he's doing this content production, and he has this program that he's able to sell at this higher amount. And that doesn't take up 100% of your time.
Nowhere near.
Which means that you're able to get even more jacked.
I'll try.
Did you just pop your chest, though?
No.
I think you did. I'm not happy about that one bit.
They just do it by themselves when they're happy.
I think I need I'm not. That is not. A buddy of mine in the gym always does that. For some reason, like the gym that I go to is like a lifter gym here. And a lot of dudes decide not to wear shirts when they're lifting. And it's just not something that I like. And one of the guys is like, well, you know him, Lou Guarino. He's an OTA too as well. He works out at the gym because he lives close. He just like locks eyes with me and just starts popping his chest.
I would lie and say I've done that too. Yeah, I was doing programs. I was doing programming today. Music was on. I actually really enjoy it, and I was like doing it. It's like me dancing without having to dance. That's what I. Yeah.
Oh, that is absolutely brutal. Well, man, I want to talk more then. So now you have, now you've been able to kind of build this thing, and this is what our initial conversations were with OTA2, and you actually struggled a little bit in that program.
100%.
Where at the beginning you weren't making much progress. We actually made some changes to the structure of the program largely as a result of you. We basically added in a phone call very early on where we said, instead of saying to everybody, hey, just go through the entire curriculum, and you've got phone calls throughout, and then you've got the group support, and you've got our support all throughout. We actually added in another phone call in the beginning, basically saying, we're going to talk to you about your specific situation and basically say what applies to you and what doesn't apply to you. Yeah. Because in your case, some of the materials didn't apply to you.
Yes.
But what ultimately came out of it is, after a little bit of time, was the building and the positioning of this Athletic Muscle Blueprint. And then, like some of the other folks in some of the previous calls, Marc-Andre Sears is a great one, it actually didn't take much for you.
No.
And this is something that we stress a lot that I think is very valuable. A lot of fitness professionals are kind of on this cusp where like a tiny little tweak, a tiny little up level in skills, particularly sales and conversion skills, not always, but usually just the smallest little tweak literally takes them from like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to like 30 or 40. I mean, it's that much different. And it actually doesn't change much of what you're doing. You were already doing Instagram content. You were already building a platform. You were already doing swipe up to learn more about me.
Mm-hmm.
All that you're doing here is you just had a program that you positioned a little bit different. That was your premium program. So it's something specific to talk about, a reason to talk about it. And then we just helped you up level your skill on the phone.
Yes.
Talk about that process of phone calls, because I think that's something that scares a lot of people.
Yeah, and I can 100%, I can 100% agree with them on that. That it is scary because it's make or break there. The people are kind of like already lukewarm. That's your turn to either heat them up or put them on fire and cancel it all out. I love them personally,
Okay.
probably because I'm good at them now. Like it's one of those things. Like I wouldn't say I'm very good at many things, and I don't know whether it's just because I'm not or I'm humble. I don't know which one it is, but there's very, very few things that I say, okay, I'm actually good at this. Okay, I'm quite hard on myself in that sense, but the sales calls, I'm good at them. Not because I'm good at making sales. I'm good at getting to know people and making sure they feel listened to.
That is what sales are.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like the sales process that we teach is a facilitated consultative sales process. It is literally take the time to get to know people and make sure you feel
Yeah.
what they feel
Yeah.
and make sure they know that. That's literally it. I mean, there are no secrets.
It's literally, I'd say the best tool you can possibly have is just pen and paper. I have like a couple of these now, and they're just full of like just
those are all notes from sales calls.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. I filled one book already. That's from
Can you, I mean, obviously don't say any names, but can you just like flip open a random page and just read what's written there just to give people some sort of an idea?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear that. I'd be super interested to hear that too, just to give people an idea of like what type of stuff come out. Because I feel like a lot of the time, like we kind of scratch the surface, but we never quite go deep enough with people when we're in any kind of a consultative sales process. And as a result, they don't buy, or they certainly don't see the value in the difference of somebody who's really truly exceptional and cares about them versus like a $20, ebook workout thing.
Off you go. Yeah. So this is person
We'll call it Bill.
Yeah, Bill. So I listen to him, and I'm always listening for their weaknesses or where they say, because everyone always goes, I'm like, okay, so what's not working for you currently?
Okay.
And they just start filling the silence. And so the first thing he said to me was confidence. So I wrote down confidence, and then I highlighted that as well. So that's something that whenever I'm repeating back to him what he's been saying to me, I don't need to like scroll through it. I've highlighted it, so I can again.
So later on in the sales call, you start repeating back his words. So I'm just paraphrasing. So basically, you're writing down as he's talking, as Bill talking. Bill Smith, we'll call him Bill Smith. You're writing down what Bill Smith is saying, and as he's saying things that you feel like are particularly important, you just highlight them because you know that you're probably going to revisit them later on in the conversation. Things like, Bill, you told me that confidence was important to you, or whatever, right? And you can just use their words that way. Okay, go on. Cool.
Exactly. So again, mental health, that's just a big, big point of my coaching that, again, in my head, I'm transparent with them a lot of the time. I just say, look, this is a chance for me to get to know you, whether I want to work with you and whether I think it's going to be a good fit for you. I structure it straight away like that. Once we can get to a point where I'm confident in whether I can help them or not, I'll say to them, look, I'll be honest with you. Like I have a checklist. I have a mental checklist of things I like to hear from people. One of them being the fact that you mentioned that about your mental health. Mental is a big issue for the coach. So again, it solidifies the fact that he's come out and said something like that to me. I'm listening to him. That's a big point for me as a coach. So it kind of solidifies that bond we get, because that's kind of what it is. Again, knowledge. He said that he just felt like he just doesn't have the overall knowledge in terms of the gym. Like he goes in, he feels like he is just picking random things. He doesn't know what it's actually targeting.
Which if you can, that is great, because then if he objects, you can say something like, Bill, you told me before that you felt like you didn't have the knowledge to do this on your own. What changed? Yeah.
In that.
And you're just curious, you're not like, Bill, you can't do this on your own. You're like, Bill. And this is a lot of what we really teach in sales, and what I think is really important and what you're nailing on is you're just curious.
Yeah.
Right. You're just saying, Bill, like you told me before that And tone is very important, of course. And this is what, we have a lot of like practice calls, and in order to graduate Online Trainer Academy level 2, you actually have to do a minimum amount of practice calls with other students in addition to our sales coaches. And one of the things we work on quite a bit is tone. So you said, Bill, one of the things you told me is that you said, and like literally reading from your book, you said that you felt like you didn't have the knowledge to do this on your own. And I'm just wondering, I'm seriously curious, like what's changed now?
Yeah. And then again, that one, I hit a brick wall by myself. He said, I feel like I've hit a brick wall by myself. And I, again, verbatim wrote that down.
Right.
So I can then repeat that back to him. So again, the idea is that you want to kind of get them down to that point where they're like, right, I'm being completely honest with you. They are telling you a lot of things that they maybe haven't told anyone else.
Or maybe haven't even been able to verbalize themselves.
Exactly.
Like, literally, like haven't even admitted to themselves, and they're telling you this stuff now.
Yes.
How powerful is that, right?
Awesome. So that's the part that I enjoy the most, because I feel like I can summarize what people, because I've done this for so long, and with one-to-one clients as well, like 10 years now, I can summarize what people are trying to say, repeat it back to them, and then they're like, actually, yeah, that's completely accurate. And I always ask them, like, do you feel like that's accurate? Or do you feel like I've missed anything there? And they're like, no joke, out of all the calls that I did on this third round, every single one of them's like, I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, you put it very, very well. And that kind of just, it's nice because it makes you feel like you're actually listening to people.
And what's funny is that you just repeated back what they said. Like, you didn't come up with anything new. Like, they said, I've never thought about it like that. They literally gave you the words that you then repeated back.
Yep. The other thing is as well, it's, again, this is personal to me, but I sometimes will interject with my opinion and my thoughts about things, because ultimately people have come to me, they've come to me for a reason, because something I've said or something I do is resonating with them. And I, wherever I talk about, time is a big thing for me. And I said, look, you can understand why time is important to me. With cystic fibrosis, my time is not promised. No one's is really. And then that's an easy stepping stone to then make them go, oh, well, yeah, well, time isn't actually promised. Yeah, he's got something that makes it more clear in his mind. But realistically, like, no one's time is promised. So that's something I can use. I say I use my cystic fibrosis, but I just kind of bring it into the conversation, so it kind of gives them that sense of immediacy. And
talk about your 1% uniqueness factor. I mean, what do we talk about in the Online Trainer Academy all the time?
Yeah.
What's unique about you? How do you tell that story? I mean, the idea of time being your most valuable asset is something that, motivational speakers say in every single talk ever. How do you tell a story around that really, really hammers it into somebody where they're like, yeah, this guy gets it. Like, oh crap, this guy gets it. So talk to me, Ben, because we're just about out of time here. Before OTA 2, before you kind of launched the Athletic Muscle Blueprint, what were your days like? Talk to me about that just a little bit.
Unstructured, chaotic, and this is no word of an exaggeration. I felt like I've been in this industry for 10 years, online coaching now for 5 exclusively. Like, I stopped one-to-one coaching. Like, I stopped advertising it about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
It felt like I was like kind of building on poor foundations, because I was just taking bits and pieces and being like, okay, yeah, you're one of my first online clients, so I'll set you this price point, and then you're going to lack the structure because I'm going to get better, and then this person is going to be at this price point, and they're going to get this in their program. It was a mess. That's the best way of describing it. It was just a mess. And up here, that's where it was affecting me the most, because I was just felt like everything was just out of control, and I hated it. Like, I was resenting my job. Like, I was damn near ready to quit because it was just too stressful. It felt like
when I approached you to invite you to join us with level 2, were you skeptical?
Yeah, like anything, I've invested, quite a bit of money in myself, but ultimately, I don't think there's ever been one. If you ask me back, oh, would you spend that again? I'd be like, well, yeah, because it's got me to where I am today. But I think I enter everything with a bit of skepticism, but again, I ultimately know, okay, if this is going to work, I have to work. And that's what I kind of didn't at the start because of COVID. Again, I had the conversation. It was like, look, my passion is in the gym. My passion is lifting weights. I don't have passion for home workouts, for body weight stuff. And that's what was paralyzing me, because I was like, I don't want to go down the route of something I'm not passionate about. So then we worked around a way of implementing the athletic muscle blueprint, regardless of what equipment you had, and that kept me passionate. But yeah, 6 months ago compared to today, I don't know how I was functioning.
So what was the breakthrough? If you can think about like one breakthrough moment where you're like, yo, it's going to be different moving forward, what would that be?
Confidence in myself. Simple.
From what?
Just knowing that, well, first of all, putting myself out there and being like, right, this is a program, it's a high price. And the fact that people started applying for it, like the first round, I think there was 86 applicants.
Yeah, you were a bit overwhelmed, eh?
I was just like, whoa, wow, this is insane, because I got over this idea that I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Because I started getting rid of all those old systems I had, and I completely reinvigorated all my old clients. And I said, look, price is going to be this, structure is going to be this, and this. If you're good, let's go. If you're not, sorry, but I'm not.
And it's not like a you've got to be at $995. It's one of the things that we teach, because confidence is so valuable and so difficult to build up that it just takes time. Like, so when you first put out the program, you put it out at a price point you were confident at. Yep. Right. Then you're like, okay, people are at this. Okay. Then you bumped it up a little bit. Then you bumped it up a little bit. Like, that's one of the things that we train people to do and actually have a process for doing. Like, pitch this price. Once you get it, okay, pitch this price a little bit higher. Once you get it, like you can't just, a lot of these like high ticket coaches are like, oh, here's how you sell like $3,000 programs. It's like, well, you can't just do that for no other reason than you're simply not confident, and you're going to sound like a squeaky mill house, like talking about it on the phone. Yeah. So, I really, I have this athletic muscle blueprint program, and I think you'd really like it. It's about 3,000 pounds, and if that's too much for you, then you just like, I would do that too. Like 1K extra started at $500. And it eventually evolved into the Online Trainer Academy. Like, that's the process, right? And we know from being fitness professionals that if you skip stages of the process, you often get your legs swept out from underneath you.
100%.
But if you walk that path and you build that foundation, all of a sudden it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, which is what it's all about. So final thing before we need to go, somebody considering joining level 2 of the Online Trainer Academy, what would you say to them?
To be honest, do it. I know it sounds really like just cliche, but if you're in a spot where you feel like, well, realistically, every fitness professional should feel like this anyway, in my opinion. You should always feel like you could get better. Because the moment you feel like you can't get better, you've plateaued, and you've probably been plateauing for a long time. I knew I needed to get better. I knew I was weak in certain areas. I knew that what I was currently doing, I deserved more. Right. I'd worked my ass off. I'd done all these things and I deserved more. And I just thought, right, you know what? It's up to me to make this a worthwhile investment. And again, at the start, put off, but eventually I got to that point. And genuinely, hands down, it sounds like such a sales pitch, but for you guys, it was, if I could look at all the courses I've done in my life, which is a lot, this is the one I would pick out, being like, yep, that's the one that had the biggest life-changing effect. All other ones have little effects that you don't maybe see flourishing for many, many years, but months or weeks. But this one was like, okay, when I put the work in, this is what happens, and it suddenly like flourished very, very quickly. So, in my opinion, out of all the courses I've done, this one sits like head and shoulders above the rest.
Awesome, man! I'm so happy to hear that, especially knowing that you struggled a little bit in the beginning.
Yep.
I'm so happy to hear that. And like, it's not big changes. It's figuring out where these little breaks are, right, in the chain. And once you kind of fix that, everything seems to work better. So everybody, you heard it here. If you are looking to scale up your online training business like Ben, if you're at $1,000 online at least, then please go to theptdc.com/OTA2 right now. We have the link, I think, somewhere in the comments. Fill out the application and then schedule your first U2 interviews. And honestly, if we think you're right for it, we'll tell you. If we think you're not right for it, we will tell you. We turn away 50 to 60% of applicants that come in and give them advice on what to do instead and how to become ready for level 2. So we'd love it for you guys to apply. And Ben, thank you so much for this, man. Thanks for sitting through our little
appreciate it.
We'll talk soon, buddy.
Have a good one.
Bye.